The law of supply. The law of supply states, all other factors being equal, as the price of a good or service increases, the quantity of good or services that suppliers offer will increase, and vice versa. The focus on supply is firms. Firms don't want to sell product if there is no money in it. Firms want to make money. Let's now put this in practice. For example, bananas. For a hypothetical economy, the supply schedule, i.e. table, for an entire market is at $1, 15 bananas will be supplied. At $2, 20 bananas will be supplied. At $3, 25, $4.30, $5.35, $6.40, $7.45, and at $8, 50 bananas will be supplied. Now this is a supply schedule for an entire market, i.e. a number of banana producers. An individual supply schedule is for one firm, e.g. Bananas XYZ, while a market supply is for all firms, e.g. Bananas R Us plus Bananas XYZ plus Bananas Co. We can plot this supply schedule on a graph. On the x-axis is quantity supplied, and on the y-axis is price. So using the data from our supply schedule, at $1, 15 bananas will be supplied to the market. So let's plot this. At $2, 20 bananas will be supplied. $3, $4, $5, $6, $7, and at $8, 50 bananas will be supplied. We can then join the dots, or in this case bananas, and we get a supply curve. Let's call it S1, meaning supply curve 1. S1 is an upward sloping curve, which reflects the law of supply. As price of a good or service increases, firms are willing and able to supply more of this product to the market. Why? Because firms can make more money at higher prices. Movement along the supply curve. So here is our supply curve from before. Now in economics, we don't often know the values, so we use pronumerals. In this example, at P1, i.e. price 1, the quantity supplied is Q1, i.e. quantity 1. Now, when the price of the good or service changes, there is a movement along the supply curve. So that if price increases to P2, then quantity supplied increases to Q2. So it can be said that when there is a change in the price of the good or service itself, there is a movement along the supply curve. So in our graph, when price increased from P1 to P2, the quantity supplied increased from Q1 to Q2, as per the law of supply. Now, the correct terms to use when there is a movement along the supply curve is an extension and contraction of supply. So, if price of the good or service increases, there is an extension of supply because more of the good is supplied. However, if prices decrease, this is a contraction of supply because less of the good is supplied. Shift of the supply curve. On the other hand, when there is a change in a factor other than the price of the good or service itself, the supply curve physically shifts. So, when there is a decrease in supply due to a factor other than the price of the good or service, the supply curve physically shifts left. While when there is an increase in supply due to a factor other than the price of the good or service, then the supply curve physically shifts right. Factors causing a shift of supply curve. Continuing on with our example, the factors which will physically shift our supply curve are prices of factors of production, e.g. labour, rent and capital. If the prices of these increase, e.g. wages for employees go up, then supply will decrease. Though, if you can get cheaper labour from overseas, then supply will increase. Prices of substitutes in production. What can firms produce instead? If a firm can switch to something that is increasing in value, then they'll want to make that instead. So if a substitute in production, e.g. apples are selling higher, firms will switch to that and supply will decrease for bananas. But if the price of apples decrease, firms will switch back to a more profitable bananas, so supply will increase. Price of complements in production. What else is produced when making the good or service? So, if the price of a complement in production decreases, firms don't want to make this product either because they don't make as much money. But if a price of complement increases, then supply for the product will increase. Expected future price. How much is it predicted to sell in the future? If it means to increase in the future, firms don't want to supply it now, so supply now will decrease. However, if price is meant to decrease in the future, then firms will want to make it now. Remember, firms want to maximize their money. Number of suppliers. How many people make the product? If there are a decrease in a number of suppliers, then supply decreases. Though, if there are more suppliers, then supply increases. Why? Because more firms are in the industry, so total supply increases. Remember, this is market supply. And finally, technology, machinery, etc. If in the rare event technology goes backwards, then supply decreases. But if there is an increase in technology, e.g. more efficient machinery, then supply increases. Shift of our supply curve. So, if there is an increase in supply of bananas, e.g. prices of factory production decrease, price of substitutes in production decrease, price of complements in production increase, expected future prices expected increase, number of suppliers increases or technology increases, then our supply curve physically shifts right. This creates a new supply curve, S2. Now, at P1, quantity supplied increases from Q1 to Q2, i.e. when supply increases at every price level, quantity supply increases. Though, if supply decreases, firms will produce less at each price level. To conclude, the law of supply states that all other factors being equal, as the price of a good or service increases, the quantity of good or service that suppliers offer will increase, and vice versa. Remember, firms want to maximize profit. 2. Because of the law of supply, the supply curve is an upward sloping curve. 3. A change in price of the good or service itself will result in a movement along the supply curve. 4. A change in a factor other than the price of the good or service itself will shift the supply curve left, decrease, or right, increase. 5. Factors causing a shift of the supply curve are prices of factory production, prices of substitutes in production, prices of complements in production, expected future price, number of suppliers, and technology.